Hello and thank you for joining us on Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made the headlines recently. I am Mark Otabo. Senate screens confirms 7 ministerial nominees. Also, President Tinubu appoints Major General Oluyede acting Chief of Army Staff. And later on the show, NEC urges President Tinubu to withdraw tax reform bills for broader consultations. All the details in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Senate confirmed the appointment of all the 7 ministerial nominees of President Bola Tinubu submitted to it for accelerated consideration. The ministers appointed were Nentawe Walter as Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Bianca Odumego Ojukwu as the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Megiri Dinyadi as the Minister of Labour and Employment, Jumoke Oduwole as the Minister of Industry. Also screened and appointed were Idi Meha as Minister for the newly created Livestock Development Ministry, Yusuf Attah as the Minister of State, Housing and Urban Development, and Suwaiba Ahmed as Minister of State for Education. Now joining us to discuss this is Joel Kemie, doctorate researcher, lead contributor, Joel Political Blog. Joel, good to have you join us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and of course I have via Zoom Ibrahim Garba, communications consultant, joining me from our Abuja studios. Ibrahim Garba, it's good to have you on the show this evening as well.
Thank you for having me once again.
All right, I'll begin with you, Ibrahim Garba, quickly. Now, this was the first time nominees were sent for screening with their portfolios attached. Now, how would you rate the screening process, and would you say that we are finally getting it right when it comes to making appointments?
Thank you very much. In the first place, we were very satisfied with the way and manner the members of the National Assembly carried out the screening, even if they have their own portfolio coming with them. And jokingly, they told Nigerians they have a very good team now to, help Mr. President to succeed. So we are looking beyond the portfolio. We are looking at, their past antecedents and what they are bringing to the table. Now, the expectations are very high, especially now that, things are a little bit soft. So we expect them to inject new ideas and come up with some policies, or rather some policies that will, drive the Nigerian economy in a positive light. So expectations are high, quite right. But again, these are people that have been proven, that have proven integrity. They have been tested and trusted, and politically, they have capacity to help Mr. President deliver. So I don't think it's going to be any huge challenge before them. Rather, what we expect them is to hit the ground running, learn from their predecessors what they have done, what they failed to do, and what they are bringing to the table. And if they are fully ready, it shouldn't take time for us to see them settle down to help Mr. President to grow, because their mandate is to come in, support Mr. President with new ideas, and, recalibrate the system so that Nigeria, going into the new year, we should be seeing changes to some of these NDAs across board.
All right, Joel Kemie, very quickly. Now, the cabinet shake-up was warranted because, according to Mr. President, retaining an appointment is based on merit. Now, if you check the antecedent of some of the ministers whose ministers were replaced, would it be fair to say it is no longer business as usual?
Yes, it is safe to say that, because the president, has said he has no other option than to succeed, and the president cannot just succeed in isolation. He needs people to work with to ensure that he delivers on the mandate that he has promised the Nigerian people. And so, if the president has said that he's going to change, or he's changing people he's going to work with, it simply means that the KPIs that he has set for them, they probably didn't meet the threshold. And that's why, so even if Nigerians want to say some ministers that were removed, they shouldn't have been removed, like the Minister for Women Affairs, for example, but the president knows the KPIs. He knows the target he has set for this minister. So if he decides this person has not hit the target that I set, or he has not achieved, or her have not achieved or have not met the KPIs or the threshold that have been set, I think the president has the the prerogative to hire and fire whoever he wants, as long as they get the job done. And for me, I think the people that have been nominated, I think they are good. But the focus for me, personally, should be on the humanitarian ministry, because considering what we Nigerians are going through at the moment, I think the Minister for the Humanitarian Affairs, and for the first time we have names sent to the Senate with the portfolios attached, and that gives the Senate the opportunity to ask the right questions. But in the midst of all of this and all of that, I'm more worried about the size of the cabinet, considering now that we're all crying about cutting down costs of governance and cutting down government, current expenditures and all of that. But all the same, I think it's a step in the right direction. If we want to, carry out an analysis of what we have now and what we had in the last 8 years, where ministers just stayed put, and at the end of the day, the performance was nothing to write home about. Okay. But I think the president has done well by, reappointing letting some of them. Yes. All right. Changing the ministry.
All right, now, Ibrahim Garba, quickly, before I go on this break, now, one ministry that a lot of people look forward to is the Ministry of Livestock Development, especially because it has just been established. Now, what do you expect from this ministry?
There's so many potentials in that sector, because there were cases of these clashes between herdsmen and the farmers and all that over the years. And Mr. President told it wise that this time around, we should have a template to work with. And remember, not long ago, there was a meeting of the critical stakeholders at the State House where, they outlined some of the programs which are needed, to create an interface between the farmers, the herders, and all the critical stakeholders involved, so that we can adopt a system either by improving what is on ground or injecting new ideas. So I think it's a win-win situation for us, especially now, because if you look at the sector alone, there's a lot of revenue that is supposed to be generated from there. But again, are we going to adopt the Ruga system or this nomadic system, whichever way? I think we have a 10-year plan for that. And if we go by what Professor Jega and his team recommended to the federal government, and for the fact that the incoming Minister for Livestock Development is somebody who has been around for some time now, I think there are so many areas Nigeria can generate so much revenue from there, because we are looking at moving away from oil and gas towards, looking at other alternatives, for revenue generation for the Federation. I think for me, for the first time, we have seen a pragmatic move towards, helping that particular sector to thrive.